And we are, well, I hope we're back. This is the second time we're trying this live stream because the internet's been so bad. So I will try and, well, hang on. Skip to content. Right, I need to hang on. Let me change this. Thing here. Right, that needs to go. That's gone. I will change that one. That needs to go. And I will change that one. That needs to go. Cut and paste. Right, let's see if this works. Let's see if this is any better, guys. I hope we're a little bit better. So what we're talking about today, guys, I'm just going to start my opening monologue. If we've got bad internet again, I'm literally just going to close this down. I'll do a video. So the news of the day is World War III. We've got official wording now from. Let me turn the chat on. We've got official wording now from the government that the UK are rapidly preparing plans to prepare the whole country in the outbreak of war. Now, what this comes from is the Armed Forces Minister. The Armed Forces Minister saying, the Armed Forces Minister is saying that so there's an old saying, soldiers win battles. It's a country that wins a war. And a good, bad example of this is Afghanistan and Iraq. People lost interest in Afghanistan. People lost interest in Iraq. Soldiers were going out there. They were fighting. They were dying. They were coming back. And nobody really cared. The country lost that war because nobody really cared about it anymore. And that's what he's saying, we need to prepare the people of the United Kingdom to fight a long slog war. Now, I'll just jump into this, guys, because amid the Christmas lights and the winter chill, we are in a situation right now that has been developing for a while. And what I'm talking about, right? We're doing a separate live stream, so I'm going right. If you're watching this live stream and you've not watched the other live stream, this is the second time I've done this. I'm going with a news headline from Sky News that was published this morning. The UK rapidly developing plans to prepare for war, says the Armed Forces Minister. I'll share that with you guys in a little bit. But I want to make progress, guys, because I'm just conscious of the time running by. So the Armed Forces Minister has said, this is not just another headline. This is a siren in the fog, echoing ghosts of 1939 when Neville Chamberlain's Peace of Our Time crumbled into blitz and blackout. And I've been speaking to my friends in Kiev, who are living in this. And they told me, I said to them, look, guys, what would you guys, if you had to stockpile something, what would you stockpile? Literally, what would you stockpile? And I'll talk about that afterwards. So, to grasp why now, we need to rewind a little bit back to the meat grinder in Ukraine, which is, I guess, since February 2022, into Russia's main invasion of Ukraine. With Moscow's hybrid tentacles and sabotage plots, cyber strikes, drone swarms, asymmetric warfare, paid criminal gangs, all this sort of stuff is happening now in Europe and in the United Kingdom. Hostile intelligence activity against the United Kingdom has surged 50% in the last year. Again, this is from arson attacks in warehouses, severed Baltic cables, all pinned to Russian proxies. NATO's new chief, Mark Rutte, yesterday warned Russia is almost at peak missile production. Drone factories outpacing anything that we can produce in the West. Our forces, we really are. Right, I am, guys. The internet is really bad. The internet is really bad today. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is, guys. Donna said so much better than I went. Right, I'm kind of like at that point now. Like, do we continue this live stream, guys? With it keep going down? Okay, right. Look, I am right, guys. This is gonna be a short one, okay? This is gonna Ali Bay is saying, Sean, you're frozen. I know I'm frozen, and it is pretty chilly in here as well. Darren is saying it's the Russians. It might be the Russians, guys. It might be the Russians. I don't know. I don't know if it is the Russians. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Right, I'm just, you see, I don't want to go into this if it keeps cutting off. Okay, so I'm gonna, what time are we on? Right, okay, so we're 12 minutes past. I should be at least halfway into my monologue by now. Right, okay, so hang on a minute. Hang on. Do you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna move that page there. No, I'm not. I'm going to keep. Hang on, guys. I'm going to move these pages around. Give me a second. Give me a second. Let me move some pages around and I'll jump back on. I'm going to move that page there. Yeah, I think that's better. And then I'm going to put that one back there. Right. I think we've got this. I think we've got this. I do. I think we've got this. Okay. So I'm going to jump forwards a little bit, guys. And I'm going to talk now about preparing civilians for an all-out conflict. The military, you know, they're going to, I mean, when you join the military from day one, you are preparing for a global conflict on an industrial scale. That's what the military do. If you're a civilian, you don't prepare for a global conflict on an industrial scale. You know, you literally like just go about your daily business. You look after the kids, you go to school, all right? However, if war with Russia erupts, and I think it will, either via mass escalation in Ukraine, which is happening daily, a Baltic incursion, hybrid chaos spreading westward, our civilians won't be spectators. Civilians will be the backbone of the military. Because this conflict, it's not going to be an Afghanistan conflict. It's not going to be an Iraq conflict. It's not going to be a Falklands, Sierra Leone conflict. This is going to be a global conflict on an industrial scale where white people, peak white civilizations, are fighting each other. And you're about to see some absolute violence. And that's what's going to come, guys. That really will be what's here. So the whole country needs to prepare, you know, and there needs to be a framework that people can flesh out and understand their roles and responsibilities. You know, like, we do have historical precedents, but also modern threats like EMPs, drone strikes, disinformation. These are new aspects of warfare. So I've got a 5-point plan of what I would do if I was in charge of the country. All right, I've got a 5-point plan. I'm just going to go through this 5-point plan with you guys, and hopefully the internet will keep us steady. So the first thing we need to do as a country, we need to revive and modernize civil defense training. And I do think so. When people talk about conscription, when people talk about, like, you know, are people going to be forced into the military? Strategically, it's not always advantageous to force people into the military because they're not motivated. Now, the Russians are using conscripts very successfully. So I do think that is an option. But if you consider that the United Kingdom is going to lead this coalition in Europe, you know what, Britain is leading this coalition in Europe. The reason Britain is leading is because Britain, the British military, the infantry, they have the best force projection capacity. So what that means is they can surge forward, land on helicopters, parachute in, seize ground for a limited time. What Britain does not have is the manpower, the heavy armor, the tanks. Remember, guys, Britain have 148 tanks. The Russians are producing 150 tanks per month. And Britain are not producing any more tanks. Yes, of course, I know there's statistics that go around that, but they're you know, that's an easy visualization, isn't it? You know, Russia is producing 150 tanks a month. Britain have 140 tanks. You know, 148 tanks. They're the numbers, guys. Okay, they're the numbers. So we do need to have some sort of civil defense, and I think that I think this would be the first thing to be launched. Now, this would be a resilience course, mandatory, I would say, for everybody. I'm going to say that this would be mandatory for everyone under 60. I'm saying it's going to be everyone under 60. Why under 60? Because there are rules for everybody, no matter what your age. Remember, civil defense is not about running forwards and doing all that, it's literally about securing the country. So I would say this needs to be some sort of mirroring Switzerland's militia model, although I am struggling about militias because I don't think the government wants us to form militias. Either way, there's going to have to be weekly drills. There's going to have to be drills about lockdowns in schools, how to protect, how to protect vital infrastructure. And this is going to take a lot of the people up in the United Kingdom. This is going to take a lot of people. Remember, what do I always say, ladies and gentlemen? If you are under 30, you're going to be fighting World War III overseas. If you are over 30, you're going to be fighting World War IV at home. That's the reality, because we are so fractured. We have communities in hotels who I would speculate don't share our, don't share our identity. So, there's going to have to be some sort of civil defense, and I do think it's going to have to be modernized, because I don't see Britain getting bombed as such. I do think there's going to be stabby, rammy, maybe shooty, cyber. There's going to be Bernie, but I don't see, honestly, guys, I don't see any scenario where there are, bombs coming into the United Kingdom. I don't see that. Stockpile essentials at community hubs. Now, there was that. Can you guys remember that? There's a website. Let me share this with you. I'll share it after. The government released a website. I think it was called. Was it called Protect and Survive? I can't remember what it was called. But the government released a new website telling you guys what to stockpile, basically. And I do think stockpiling is going to be a big part of what's coming. And it's not always the things that you think of. I was speaking to my friend in Ukraine. And I said to him, he's in Kiev. The lights go out all the time. They're getting incoming drone attacks. They're getting incoming missile attacks. And I said to him, I said, mate, I said, what would you tell me to stockpile? And it was very simple. He said, board games and candles. I'm going to add to that vodka and coffee. So that's what I would say stockpile. Board games, candles, vodka and coffee. Compact and potent. I don't see a situation where Britain runs out of food. I would add to that water, actually. I would say water, vodka. Don't get those two mixed up, guys. Don't put them in plastic bottles. Water, vodka, coffee, board games, candles. That's what I would say stockpile. But these stockpiles are going to have to be at, there's going to be some sort of government. There will be some sort of government stockpiling at local level. So wherever you live, whether that's, I don't know where you guys live. Throw out there where you live. whether that's Edinburgh, I don't know, Edinburgh, Newcastle, York, Doncaster, Chesterfield, Sheffield, Birmingham, wherever you live, your local authorities will have to stockpile. They'll have to start stockpiling, because in these times of whatever's coming, you know, being able to transport goods is going to be a luxury that we don't have, because most of the diesel will be going to the military. I'd say all the diesel actually will be going to the military. So if you've got a diesel car, now might be the time to get a petrol car. So we will need to harden the infrastructure in the United Kingdom. And what do I mean by infrastructure? The main things I'm talking about here, guys, is water, electricity, and gas. Water supply in the United Kingdom it's a joke. There's no security on it. Likewise, your gas, although gas supply, like, you know, if you're going to go and drill into a gas pipe, you know, good luck with that. Literally, good luck with that if you're going to drill into a gas pipe. But you can set a fire around that gas pipe, and eventually that's going to blow up, right? But you can sabotage water pipes a lot easier. And as we've seen, electricity grids, they get set fire. People set, well, we're not being told, are we, why these substations keep setting on fire? We're not being told, but it does seem suspicious that electricity substations get set on fire, go burn, and they take out huge airports. I would say that's, I would say that's sabotage, but, you know, I can't say that because nothing official's come out. The next thing we would need to do is forge community hubs. This is where you guys really need to, honestly, you guys need to start speaking to your neighbors, start speaking to your friends and your families. Like, try and visualize like a row of terraced houses, right? We don't have neighbors. We do have neighbors, but they're quite far away. Visualize a row of terraced houses, right? You know, I'm assuming you talk to each other. I would start growing stuff. Really, guys, I would start growing stuff and, you know, work as a street, work as a community. This really needs to happen, you know. So people really need to start forming communities, neighborhood watch. Maybe you guys, you know, Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, you know, I don't know. Forming communities, you know, for food sharing, knowledge sharing, because ultimately, you know, resources will be thin. If we look at the casualty rate from the Russians in this conflict in Ukraine, the Russian casualties are 1,200 a day. The Russian casualties, guys, are 1,200 a day. You can't even imagine that, can you? You can't even imagine taking 1,200 casualties a day. It's phenomenal. So if there are 1,200 casualties a day, in fact, look, the German hospitals are planning to take. So I think it was last month, I think it was the German health minister or something. He said, we're doing an exercise, and this exercise is to prepare German hospitals to be able to take 1,000 casualties per day. So you guys can see these numbers, right? You guys can see that, just like for if we're taking 1,000 casualties per day, that's a whole British infantry gone in 19 days. It's not good, guys. It's not good. But, you know, people are going to have to come together. They're going to have to learn medicine. They're going to have to learn agriculture, you know, and they're going to have to secure their own neighborhoods. Because don't forget, when this war kicks off, I've been saying for a while, it's a matter of, you know, when, not if. But when this war kicks off, there's still going to be criminals in the United Kingdom. There's still going to be people wanting to profiteer. Spineless, gut-wrenching, horrible people. That's what they are. Spineless, gut-wrenching, horrible people. But they do exist. They do exist, guys. You know, I could probably point to where a lot of them internet is an absolute nightmare today, guys. This internet is an absolute nightmare. Right, we're back. We are back, guys. Hello. We were doing so well, wasn't we? We was doing so well. Wasn't we doing well? We was doing so well, guys. We were doing so well on the live stream. Listen, guys, if you watch this live stream back, all these get buffered out. You know, all these get buffered out. You know, so if you want to watch it back, there won't be any frozenness. Zoe is saying, "Defo, Sean, we need to stick together and plant those seeds." Right, let me move that over there. So I don't know where we was going on that, guys. The last comment, the last point, my last talking point before the my last talking point before the screen froze was people need to form communities. So, guys, look, I would guarantee right now, I would guarantee right now that most people are aware of what's happening. If you guys have been watching my channel, I've been telling you what's coming for a long time. I can tell you what's coming in the next couple of years as well. But what I do think right now, and I would recommend you do this as well, speak to your neighbors. Just speak to your neighbors and say, hey, I don't know, Johnny or Mickey, you know, I'm going to in the summer or whenever, I think you can grow potatoes now. I'm going to start growing potatoes. You know, do you want to grow something and we'll share? So I grow the potatoes, you grow cabbages, somebody else grows tomatoes, and then we share. And you have like your own little, you know, you have your own little farm growing. Urban agriculture. I think there's some websites that talk about urban agriculture, and you know, I'll try and share some links. But you know, people really need to start doing urban agriculture because ultimately it's going to save you money as well. And not just forming those neighborhood networks for, you know, shared, you know, mutual support. There's all, I don't know if the internet cut off before I said this. I don't know if the internet cut off, guys, before I said this, but there's also going to be a huge criminal element, and there will be, absolutely. There's going to be criminal marauders that are going round to people's houses because they know the husbands are away. This will happen, guys. I promise you. We live in a dark world where people are, you know, where people will find out that, I don't know, some man has gone away to the war and he will know that that family is vulnerable. So somebody will try and rob from them. 1,000,000% this will happen, guys, because there are some people with no morals. So, you know, people need to form communities. And we need to have psychological and economic fortifications. We do, guys, okay? Because there's going to be some things that we can't even contemplate. There's going to be some acts so violent, so brutal, that you're not going to believe them. And you won't believe them. And we're going to have a lot of young men come back from this front line, and they're going to be broken. In fact, I'm going to say this. Nobody comes back from a war. You know what? The same person never comes back. The same person will never come back from a war. So maybe it's your husband, maybe it's your brother, you know, maybe it's your dad. They're going to go away to a war as your dad or as your brother or as your husband or your boyfriend. That person is not coming back. You will get a different person, you know, and people need to understand this. You know, people need to understand that they're not going to want to talk to you when they get back. You know, it's nothing, you know. And there's a scene. So there's a scene right at the end of Lord of the Rings. I'm going Lord of the Rings, guys. I am. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? There's a scene on Lord of the Rings when Frodo comes back to the Shire, right? So imagine what Frodo's been through, right? He's like, he's had the personification of evil wrapped around his neck. He's had to fight his way through orcs. He's gone to distant lands. He's been killed by a spider, brought back to life, stabbed by a goblin. He's seen some shit, Frodo, right? Yeah, and he comes back to the Shire, yeah? And when he walks back to the Shire, the people in the Shire, they have no idea what Frodo's been through. And they're all looking at him funny. And Frodo struggles. Frodo struggles to be there. And I think that is a fantastic analogy of what it's going to be like for these people when they come back. You know, we also need economic fortifications. We need to be able to, you know, keep producing stuff. Now, this is going to have to be at government level. So, like, money won't be. I don't think money will exist, guys. You know, this would be a good way to bring in universal basic income. All this plan is coming together now, guys. You know, this would be a good. This would be a good way to bring in universal basic income. Because can you imagine it? Wartime, jobs gone, people in the military, people are just trying to survive. You know, it would be a perfect time to bring in universal basic income. World wars change worlds, guys. They really do. World wars change worlds. But that is the direction we are heading right now. That's right. We've gone again. Are we back? Are we back? Are we back? I think we're back. RSL is saying Frodo had PTSD. Absolutely, he did. Absolutely. Listen, guys, I keep freezing. I'm going to close this down. I don't know whether it's the weather. I don't know whether it's the weather or whatever. I'm going to close this down. I'm going to close everything back up. Zoe is saying we'll own nothing, but we'll be happy. I don't think we'll be happy. I just think we'll not own anything. Ladies and gentlemen, look, guys, I'm going to close this short now. The internet's been absolutely terrible. I'm going to close this down. I'm going to reset my whole computer, update everything. I'll try and get back on later this afternoon. What I've been talking about today, guys, is from a hang on, let me get this up. What I've been going off today is an article released in the Sun, and it's rapidly developing plans to prepare for war, says the Armed Forces Minister. And what it is the UK is rapidly preparing plans to prepare the whole country if a war breaks out, and that's from the Armed Forces Minister. The internet's really bad, guys. It is. I do apologize on that. So. Yeah, I do apologize, guys. The internet is really bad. I am going to close this down now. There's also a super flu. There's also a super flu out. I might do a standalone live stream on the super flu later on. I think I will, guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close this down. I'm going to try and update everything, update as much as I can. I will then come back on later this afternoon and I will talk about the super flu, because there's a super flu about, guys. There is a super flu. There is a super flu. Anyway, guys, I will speak to you guys. I will speak to you guys later, and I bid you good morning. And I do apologize. I do apologize about the internet, guys. Oh, hang on. Do you think the threat of war will make any migrants self-deport? They can't self-deport. They're here now. I do look, guys, real quick. I do think there's going to be a mass immigrant army, guys. I do think there's going to be a mass immigrant army in the context that they're going to give people citizenship for service. I do think that's coming. And I do think a lot of those migrants, you know, a lot of those migrants are going to be ad hoc police, ad hoc security as well. I think we're gonna use the South African method, whereby people are in, like, people just live in gated communities. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to close this down. The internet's bad. I want to leave on a high. I want to leave on a high, guys. I'm going to come back on once I've reset everything, and I'm going to talk about the. I'm going to jump back on. I'm going to talk about the super flu that's you know, the super flu that's coming. Anyway, guys, I'll speak to you guys later.